And joining us now, Santa Fe County Sheriff Don Mendoza, who's leading this investigation, along with Santa Fe's Fire Chief Brian Moya, whose team was the first to arrive at Hackman's home. Good morning to both of you. Sheriff, let me start with you. Do you have any more insight this morning on what may have led to these deaths?
Right now, we don't. Of course, we executed the search warrant yesterday, starting on the evening of the 26th, all into yesterday afternoon. And one of our investigators attended the autopsy yesterday. We don't have more information. We're trying to put things together, put together a timeline when the decedents were last seen or spoken to. Of course, we understand that is a challenge because they were very private individuals and a private family. So we're trying to put all that information together right now.
The officers did conclude that the two had been deceased for some time. Any sense of the timeline? I mean, are we talking days? Are we talking weeks?
Yeah, so it's very difficult to put a timeline together, even with the help of the Office of the Medical Investigator, just based on their body and other evidence on the body. It appears several days, possibly even up to a couple of weeks.
Any insight in terms of the two of them? Did it appear that they had passed at the same time, or had one passed before the other?
I think that's very difficult to determine. I think it's going to be pretty close. There was no indication that anybody was moving about the house or doing anything different. So it's very hard to determine if they both passed at the same time or how close they passed together. We're trying to put that information together, and obviously with the assistance of the Office of the Medical Investigator. And I think the autopsy report is going to be key to this investigation.
Let me bring in the fire chief here. Is carbon monoxide poisoning or a gas leak, has that been ruled out definitively, or is that still a potential cause here?
Yeah, good morning. We, at the time of the incident, we did not determine anything that was in the house with our meters that was concerning towards our guys doing the searches. So at the time of the incident, we did not find anything in the home at the time.
But there had been some time that had passed, it appears, from when they passed to when they were found. Does that complicate the question at all in terms of, if there had been some kind of leak, would it have dissipated perchance?
It possibly could. That was a home with natural gas in it, so it could have. Yeah, there's a lot of unanswers there. When we arrived, we made sure that our people, as well as the sheriff, were safe, and there was nothing when we found. We also went back again yesterday to do another round of searches with the sheriff department, and we didn't find anything as well.
Well, I understand that this was a very large property. Can you give us a little more on the layout, and were the bodies close proximity to each other or far apart?
So when my paramedics arrived, we found one of the deceased bodies in the living room area. In one of the areas of the house, and the other one was a little farther apart. Yes, it was a very large home. It took a while for all of us to locate.
Sheriff, let me get back to you. The front door says open and not secure. That was in the search warrant affidavit. So was it just unlocked, or was it ajar, wide open?
Well, the information that I gathered from the investigators was there were several doors that were unlocked at the residence. I believe the front door was closed but unlocked. Unsecured. There was one door that was ajar, and that was towards the rear of the residence, that two of the dogs that survived were coming in and out of the residence. So, there's a little bit of conflicting stories, and based on emergency response and things, we're not sure if that door was open upon the arrival of emergency personnel, or if that, if it was open upon entry of emergency personnel. So that's another question and something that we just need to answer.
Sheriff, another fact is that was in the affidavit is that there was an opened prescription bottle, potentially with pills splayed out. I understand medical privacy. You're not at liberty to say what that prescription was, but let me just get at it a different way. Do you believe it may be possible that that prescription could be related in any way to the deaths that we've seen here?
That's obviously very important evidence at the scene. That information was collected. That information was passed to the Office of the Medical Investigator to help them make a determination. So yes, that we're looking at that specifically, and other medications, of course, that were in the possibly in the residence. So that is something of concern.
Yeah, and the toxicology report, which will look at that. That is when? What's the timeline on that? I assume that will help answer some of these questions.
Based on my experience, a toxicology report could take some time. It could take up to 3 months, or even possibly longer. It just depends, how busy the laboratory is. But we're hoping it comes sooner than later, so we can answer some of these questions, and hopefully it'll help us in our investigation to determine and help OMI determine the manner and cause of death.
Yeah, I mean, bottom line, is there a working theory here? Are you still confident there's no foul play? I mean, what's your sense of what may have happened?
I think I'm pretty confident that there is no foul play, just based on the lack of evidence of foul play. But we, of course, we're not ruling that out. Again, I think the autopsy results, the official results, are going to help us steer us in the right direction. That could change, obviously, and we're not ruling that out. This is an open investigation. It's a couple days old, and so we're putting together the timeline. We're trying to figure out all the evidence, and the autopsy is key, and that is going to take some time. So I hope a little bit of patience on the family's part, on everybody's part, so we can have some answers into these deaths.
Yeah, and really quick to Chief Moya, it was your paramedics who were first on the scene there. Is it still your belief, there was some wording in this search warrant affidavit that it looked as though the two may have just fallen? Is that still your belief?
Yeah, when we arrived on scene, my paramedics did do an evaluation, and it was obvious. We didn't do any life-saving measures. So at the time, we didn't really need to get any closer due to the fact that it was an obvious sign of death.
Sheriff Mendoza, Chief Moya, I thank you for your time this morning, and I appreciate you being with us. Thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning on NBC, or take Today when you're on the go. Just follow the Today podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.